good morning from New York City and Unity in Harlem. Today, Sunday, June 14th, 2026, is to be a wonderful day because you started it. And today, Sunday, June 14th at 10 a.m., you are here at Unity in Harlem with our minister, Reverend Ogun Hlder, had to take a swallow, whose title talk today is Free at Last. And as usual, I will read something of inspiration. There was a prayer before you came, before we started this morning from Reverend Ogun, and he talked about being one. And I have to tell you that at the soccer game that I saw on television on Thursday, when Mexico won over South Africa, the camera showed the different countries and their jubilation at the winning. And they're jumping up and down. I just never saw so many people on the television camera. But then last night, for the winning of the New York Knicks over the San Antonio Spurs, I saw it again. And I said to the car service man this morning, seeing all those people with the same joy confirms that we are one. There are others that want to take more than what they need to have. But that joy just, it's there. It's there. We have to feel the joy, the oneness. We have to feel it. And one of the ways we feel it is in our imagination. And I'm going to read something this morning about imagination from a writer whose name is Veronica Walker Douglas, out of Chicago, in Universal Foundation for Better Living, but the church is Center for Christ Universal Temple. And it says about your imagination, see your day. When you wake up, before even getting out of bed, take a moment to express the appreciation for being awake and filled with anticipation for a new day. You are using your imagination. You are using your unwavering oneness in God. Your reset occurred while you were asleep, and now you must prepare to embrace your new start. Envision the sequence of joyous events you intend to attract today. Allow your mind's eye to guide you through each interval of time. Go to the feeling place and identify the feelings you will embrace and share with others with warmth, appreciation, and empathy. Spend additional time visualizing yourself moving through each task with ease. You are safe and surrounded by spirit, with divine connections waiting to assist you. As you begin your preparations for us to have left home and for you to get ready to leave home, you are calm, focused, and sure. You feel confident that divine order orchestrates and the remainder of your day. Give thanks. Be grateful. Stay prayerful and powerful. Start each morning from now on by taking time to ignite your imagination so that only that which you desire and say, remember 2 weeks ago talked about what you say matters. that only what you desire and say will transpire. And in Samuel, it says, "This day you have seen with your own eyes how God has delivered you." So thank you for hearing that this morning. And now I'm going to turn the service over to Marie, who's going to start with our opening song. And later we will have Reverend Ogun with his talk and meditation afterwards. And then I'll return to talk about the events for this week. And some of them are new. So I hope you will stay with us, and glad you're here now. So thank you, Marie.
Thank you so much, Annette Furnell. You always have such wonderful things to say. Wow, just setting us up so beautifully. And it really sets us up so well for this particular song that by Eddie Watkins. You know, why would we ever want to go away from that feeling of joy, that knowledge of oneness, and that we all are going through the same kinds of things? You know, why would we ever want to make anything wrong? Why would we ever want to give away that perfection that is seamed and woven into our very reality, into the very air we breathe? So on that note, we will sing, "What Would Love Do Now?" Think about that thing that you thought, oh my goodness, really? You can sing it together if you want. Just before you say. Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath and let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if I should try to cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or cry for love. That's why for love we try for love, 'cause in the end that's all that's really real. Whether right or wrong, it doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Just before you say that's why for love we cry for love, 'cause in the end that's all that's really real. Whether right or wrong, it doesn't matter, just as long let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? 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 Love. Oh, and let that sink right in as we welcome Robert Bob Poncé, the beautiful announcer of this wonderful house at 318 West 139th Street. And you still have time. You can come to be with us or just relax because you need that rest at home. Bob?
Isaiah 55 verse 11 says, So shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed in the thing for which I sent it. Unity affirmations speak to the power of our words, and particularly the power of I am. And so we say this affirmation every Sunday to affirm our divine nature. The words are on the screen, and I invite you to say them with me. I am an abundant, radiating center of God's love and light for peace, healing, and inner truth for all.
And on that note, I'm going to sing a beautiful song that is Kwesi Thomas's favorite, I think, or at least one of them. Say again? One more time? Oh gosh. I said something different? Oh, really? I'm sorry. I'm adding things to your name. All right, Kwesi Thomas. Thompson, I don't know where I got that one. Okay, good. But what would love do now? It's a theme, you see. It's okay, it's cool. All right. Yeah, so be at rest. I'll do my best. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest once more, oh my soul, for the Lord has been good. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest once more, oh my soul. Oh my soul, be at rest once more, for the Lord has been good to you. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest once more, oh my soul, for the Lord has been good. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest once more, oh my soul. Oh my soul, be at rest once more, for the Lord has been good to me. For you, oh Lord, have delivered my soul from death, my eyes from tears, and you, oh Lord, have delivered my feet from stumbling. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest once more, oh my soul, for the Lord has been good. Be at rest. Be at rest. Be at rest once more, oh my soul. Oh my soul, be at rest once more, for the Lord has been good to be at rest once more, for the Lord has been good to at rest once more. Do you feel it just easing that concern, whatever that was? Taking a breath and we're just easing it right out into some joy, the joy of oneness, the joy of free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty we're free at last, right?
Indeed,
Let's take,
indeed.
yes, introducing the wonderful and glorious Reverend Ogun Hlder.
Thank you, thank you. Uh, First of all, congratulations to the Knicks. I am. There we go. I am supremely envious as a diehard NBA basketball fan that I'm not in the states to at least be watching them on TV. No, I wouldn't be in the Garden because, as a friend of mine said, like tickets to the Garden, that's like a down payment on a house. So no. Um, but this week has been full celebration energy. Yes, they're in New York for the Knicks victory. Here in Portugal, the last couple of weeks have been just a string of national and religious holidays. Like it's been nonstop party central with like community wide block parties going late into the night. And when I say late into the night, I'm talking like 2, 3, 4 in the morning that they've been going on. I've had to been sleeping with earplugs. It's been wild here. And then at the end of this week, we also have another celebration in the U.S. We have Juneteenth coming up, and just a quick reminder for folks on, and this may be the first time you're hearing it, but the Unity Eastern region is having an online Juneteenth prayer vigil on, thanks, Bob, on Friday, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. And I'll be one of the first ministers leading this off right at 11. So I'm not sure how long it's going, but if you want to participate, there's a Zoom link there, or just, you know, Google Unity Eastern Region, and under their events tab, you'll see more information about that. So join if you can. And if you want to hear what I have to share, tune in right at 11, because I'll be one of the first folks speaking. But I want to talk a little bit about Juneteenth today. And first, I'll start off by saying I've had an interesting experience with Juneteenth. I didn't grow up in the US. I grew up in Barbados. So Juneteenth was not a thing in Barbados. Yes, we are a former British colony, similar to the US, built on the backs of enslaved people. And we have our own post colonial issues. The US is about to celebrate 250 years of independence from England. Barbados, we only became independent in 1966. So we got a little, not as independent as long. So some similarities, some differences. But even when I moved to the US as a 19-year-old college student, it still was a while before I heard about Juneteenth. And for a few reasons, I was attending a college that was a very predominantly white campus. I was in Unity spaces, probably later, but also predominantly white Unity spaces. And to my own, what I recognize now to be a not feeling like I fit in with the African American experience because I was Barbadian, I was Caribbean. Sure, I may look black, but it's not the same black experience that I had growing up. I didn't feel like I fit in with really any community in the States. And I also recognize what I know now to be what we now call internalized racism. So there's this idea that I would benefit more by being part of white communities. It's a real thing. So, you know, it really took a while for me to learn about and understand what the importance that Juneteenth held for the Black American community. I don't need to tell y'all about it. I don't. Y'all don't need the cliff notes from me. But just in case, there's somebody who's watching this service and doesn't know what Juneteenth is. I mean, anything's possible, but just in case, the TLDR is that uh, the Emancipation Proclamation that ended slavery in the U.S. happened in 1863, but it wasn't until nearly 2.5 years later, June 19th, 1865, that the last group of enslaved people in Texas, about 250,000 enslaved people in Texas, were actually liberated from their enslavement. And every year since then, Black America has celebrated that day as the day when truly liberation from enslavement happened. So we had this proclamation in 1863, but we still had enslaved people for another 2.5 years. So really, slavery was not over nationally until 1865. And for much of the Black American community, it's really a second Independence Day, a Liberation Day, because you have to remember when the US declared its independence, when the states, the original 13 colonies, declared their independence from England, it was not independence for everyone. And I'm actually going to talk more about that in an upcoming talk closer to Independence Day. But to come back to this space and time, and more specifically in Unity, Unity's journey around and conversations around racism, anti-racism, even acknowledging Juneteenth has been interesting. And again, I'm learning a lot of this after the fact, but also learning a lot of this as someone who I humbly would say helped push the conversation forward in the larger Unity format. I'll say more about that in a second, but I'll say this. When I first got into Unity, and this was around 1997. I almost said 20. No, it's been that long. 1997 is when I first encountered Unity. And there wasn't any conversation around racial inequality, really, about racial disparities, about the country being a racialized state to begin with. There were a few reasons for this. One, again, my first Unity churches were predominantly white spaces. But also, there was this idea in Unity that said, we won't talk about these issues because there was a thought of what we resist persists. Some of you in Unity might been in Unity for a minute, might recognize that phrase. What we resist persists. So let's not talk about the negative issues that are perpetuating our culture. We don't want to give them energy, because if we give them energy, we're only feeding into them. And if we talk about them, we're also feeding that negativity within our consciousness. So it was what it was, spiritual bypassing. It was this idea that we won't talk about the things that are uncomfortable for us. And in predominantly white spaces, that was around racism. I would come to find out later that in Black Unity spaces, as fewer as they may have been, this wasn't necessarily the case. So, but just talking about it in Black spaces wasn't enough to create a shift within Unity itself. And I remember this was always a thing. We don't talk about these issues from the pulpit, was what I was taught in ministerial school. And then 2020 happened, and we all remember the two biggest things that happened in the States, in the world, really. We had the pandemic, and we also had the rise of Black Lives Matter and racial reckoning. We had the murders of people like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. We had folks rising up saying enough is enough. We have to face the racial disparities and the crimes that followed from them, and how is it that, you know, we have a proclamation from 1863 and yet we still have this racial oppression going on. We have to have conversations about this. And those conversations started to filter into unity. They couldn't not, because everybody was talking about them, and it would have been even more awkward to not be having them when everybody else has. Everyone wasn't ready for this, or even wanted this to happen. And I remember, I believe it was in 2020, might have been 2019, but I think it was 2020, when, yes, it was World Day of Prayer. And I was asked to speak at, or share prayer at World Day of Prayer. And in the 5 minutes that I had, I think it was maybe one of the first times someone in World Day of Prayer explicitly talked about racism, especially talked about, I remember talking about the fear that I felt for my daughter, especially, who at this time was spending more and more of her time in the South, and my fear for her, and how I needed to use my prayers and affirmations first as a way of shifting me out of the fear, but also acknowledging that the fear existed and why it existed. And so, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was also a lot of interest generated by white America and white folks in unity about wanting to learn more and have discussions around this. And it was slow going. I mean, there were some churches that wanted to, for example, not let Black folks in their communities, predominantly white churches, form affinity groups or have conversations around this. And people still weren't speaking about it from the pulpit. There was more spiritual bypass, and there was like, no, we're gonna focus on love and oneness. We're not gonna talk about these issues or bring them up because we are one. So if we are one, race doesn't matter. And there's nothing more racist than saying race doesn't matter. Just call it what it is. So I remember this shift happening, and sure enough, 3 years later, like the energy started to wane. 4 or 5 years later, energy started to wane around that interest, but it didn't go away entirely. And I think part of that is what's contributing to the fact that now we have a Juneteenth online prayer vigil. I don't believe that was something that existed 10 years ago in Unity or before 2020. And it was part of what led me and a good friend of mine, Reverend Kelly Isla, who spoke here earlier, to create Project Sanctus, which is another venture that I'm involved in. She and I, we do a lot of anti-racism education within a spiritual context. And we did a lot of work helping unity churches and New Thought churches to look at themselves and go, like, you say you are welcome in space, but are you really? And to facilitate uncomfortable conversations between white folks and Black and brown folks, and realize that, yes, we are one, but we're not the same. To quote Bono from U2, we're one, but we're not the same. And it's okay that we're not, but we also have to acknowledge where those differences may be causing harm. So there was a lot of conversations around that, and here we are, right now. And one of the things that there's still a struggle with, I find, even though there's more openness to it, is the idea of, can we also look at Unity's teachings and the way Unity's teachings are taught through a more like anti-racism lens, to acknowledge that, yes, principles of abundance are universal. However, when you live in a culture in which there are systemic financial blocks to certain people, or systemic hurdles, more for some people than others, that maybe experiencing abundance, external abundance, isn't the same for everyone. Even though the principles are universal, the world that those principles have to be acted out in is not homogenous. It's not the same for everyone. So to have those conversations where, yes, we got to confront that, we got to talk about that, we got to acknowledge that, that even again in unity, even though the principles are universal and the principles work, we're not all going to have the same external experience because there are other people in the world and other systems in the world as well. Um, Being an awakened spiritual person or an awakening spiritual person does not make us immune from the systems of oppression that exist where we live and where we operate. So here we are, and this is the ongoing journey of unity in each and every one of us who take part in New Thought spaces and centers. Um, and it's a nice reminder that if you don't read Unity magazine, or Spirituality and Health is what it's called now, that I do write a column around this. So every issue, there's some write-in around spirituality and anti-racism and social justice, and asking again uncomfortable questions for everyone who's reading, including myself and people who look like me. It's not just saying to white bodies examine, it's also for black and brown bodies in these spaces to go like, where might we also be perpetuating this as well? But the story of Juneteenth is very much, and the journey of how this country, the US, has evolved racially since the Emancipation Proclamation and Juneteenth, really, I notice, runs a little bit parallel, or is a good metaphor for our own spiritual awakening. We can take some important lessons from this and apply it to ourselves. First of all, if we want to be spiritually awakened and embark on this journey and continue on this journey of spiritual awakening and connecting to our Christ nature, it begins with a declaration. It begins with an acknowledgement, a realization that how we were currently or in the past living was not working, and we needed a new experience. And we decided, we realized we were called to, we encountered these teachings and these principles, and we're like, okay, we're going to declare that who we are as divine beings is the truth of who we are, and we're going to start living out these principles. So it does begin with a declaration, but the declaration is not the be all and end all. So just as, Lincoln made this proclamation, it still took 2.5 years for everyone who was enslaved to experience it. Similarly, when we make this declaration to embark on this path of spiritual awakening, it's not like all of a sudden we no longer experience the fears, the resistance, of our human egos. It takes a while for us to experience it for ourselves. We have to experience it for ourselves. There's a difference between knowing that we are one, that we are love, that we are abundance, and then actually living as if we are one and we are love and we're abundance. There's a difference between knowing the truth of our wholeness and then living that principle. And this is, what unity's fifth principle is. It's not enough to know these things. We have to live them, and living them, as we often say, begins with an internal choice and decision. It begins in consciousness. By the way, that thing I mentioned earlier, what we resist persists, that's a internal consciousness thing. What we resist in terms of our thoughts, we just produce more of those thoughts. So the what we resist persists is not an external occurrence, it's an internal consciousness thing. So part of our consciousness shift has to be not avoiding uncomfortable thoughts and beliefs and feelings and wounds and traumas, but to acknowledge them, to face them, to embrace them, to transform them, to heal them. Can't transform and heal what we don't acknowledge and face. So we can't resist, and we have to embrace. instead. And there's a lot of reasons why we might resist. Of course, there's like the desire for what's familiar, for what's easy. There's a fear of not knowing what might come next. There's fears of abandonment, because as we take on these new principles and teachings, way of life, there are people who won't like it. Um, and there are people and situations where we realize we no longer resonate with that, so we leave as well. We abandon them. So there's all these reasons that go into our resistance. But the important thing to remember is that if we keep fighting against the resistance, we're not going to move forward. So there's that acknowledgement, that embracing, and then finding out what is the tools that we need to use to help get us around that. And another important point to remember is that this takes time, just as the time between the Emancipation Proclamation and Juneteenth. When we are in this spiritual journey, things are not going to change quickly. So even though we had the 2 years between the proclamation and Juneteenth, for the next 100 years in the US, things didn't get much better. We went from enslavement, we went to sharecropping, which was basically legalized enslavement for pennies. Then we had the Jim Crow era. Like, that was 100 years before the civil rights era really bought in legal rights and protections for African Americans. And then even after that, there were still legalized, sanctioned forms of oppression and racial discrimination that still continue to this day. So we're still on this journey towards full equality, liberation, equity. It's still ongoing. And I draw the parallel with chemicalization in unity. That idea that when we take hold of a new teaching, the old ways of being, suddenly there's this friction, this tension, and it's usually fear based around we don't know what's going to happen next. So there's a time. Takes time for these things to evolve. And the other thing that we have to remember, and the similar parallel, is what I hinted at before. It's a lifelong journey. No matter how spiritually awakened we might feel that we are, there's always going to be those remnants of the humanness that we are, the cultural traits that are embedded in us, the traumas, fears, and wounds. They're always going to be there. They don't just disappear. But what happens over time is that we remember the truth of who we are, and we are able to better not let those internalized human cultural traits and fears and traumas be the ones that dictate how we show up in the world. So when opportunities come our way, they may trigger things in us, but we can take a moment to pause, take a breath, remember who we are, and act from a place of awakened, empowered beings. The idea of liberation and healing and awakening, it isn't a static place, a destination that we get to. It's a way of beingness, it's a way of choosing, it's a way of living in every moment. It's why they call it a spiritual practice. And I sometimes think we misunderstand this idea of spiritual practice as a thing we do, like meditation or affirmative prayer, or think of your favorite spiritual practices, and we think of them of activities separate from our everyday living. We think of them as things we do to make us better spiritual beings. But spiritual practice is every single moment of your life. Spiritual practice is every single moment when you have to make a choice. And we're always choosing. We're never not choosing. Every single thing we do is based on a choice that we make. And it becomes a question of, where are we choosing from? Are we choosing from the unawakened, still afraid, still operating from embedded cultural traits and traumas? Like, are we choosing from that place? Or are we choosing from the Christ nature awakened self that we want to be? That's the spiritual practice. I like to say to folks, and I didn't come up with this, but spiritual practice really is what happens when we get off the meditation cushion or get off the yoga mat. Um, so, similarly, the journey of liberation for African Americans and really all brown folk and black folk in the US is still ongoing. We haven't gotten there yet. It's much better than it used to be, obviously, but we ain't there yet. And it's the same thing with our spiritual evolution, our spiritual awakening. It is an ongoing journey. And the last piece that I think is a great parallel with Juneteenth is that we have to tell our story. I remember growing up in a very evangelical, traditional, fundamental Christian setting, and a big piece of this was you got to go and convert people. You have to go and bring followers to Christ. You have to go evangelize. You have to tell people your story about how Christ saved your life and bring people into the fold. It was your not just spiritual, but moral responsibility to do this. And I remember coming into Unity and feeling great relief that there was not this pressure about evangelizing, that I didn't have to go tell anybody about Unity per se. That wasn't a big push. Um, it was ironic because people are like, Unity is the best kept secret. Why don't people know more about Unity? Well, because we don't have this push to evangelize. I I think that's a good thing. So, but we still need to tell our story. And I think part of the telling our story is first showing our story. Showing is part of telling by how we live our life, by the choices we make. We don't necessarily need to tell people why or how, but we do it with our actions. Actions speak louder than words. And in my experience, when I show up as love, when I show up as the divine, when I show up as God, people notice. I'm sure some of you have experienced this. People notice and they're like, well, how are you this way in this situation when the rest of us are freaking out? Or how are you able to navigate this in the way you navigate this? And then I might share some teachings or share some things about unity. But it needs to come with a bit of humility as well, because we are also still on the journey. And it needs to come with a place of acceptance and patience for others and the rate they're going on their journey as well. And most importantly, it needs to come not from a place of we need to convert or recruit and get people in our churches, but from a place where there is a desire for liberation for all. A desire for liberation for all, an authentic, like real desire. Because the more I experience spiritual liberation, the more I experience racial liberation, the more I want it for everyone. The more I want that feeling of peace and love and non-attachment that I mostly tend to move through the world with when I'm remembering and, like I said before, choosing in every moment. I want that for folks because I believe that when we truly all get in touch with the Christ nature that we are and live that, that's when the world peace will come. That's when the problems that we have in the world will be resolved. That's when the systems of oppression that still exist will finally be dismantled. It's not just political work, it's not just economic work, it's spiritual work as well. And these teachings can be a great path for that as well, as long as we are mindful about how we teach them in relation to the systems that still exist. And also, we're clear about how we are living them from day to day as well. So this is why I love the Juneteenth story as a powerful metaphor for our transformation and our journey as well. So later this week, those of you who are going to go and going to celebrate and enjoy any Juneteenth, like gatherings, parties, parades, anything, remember that this is in many ways our story of spiritual awakening as well. And the story is not over, it is still being written. We are still awakening, we're still evolving. And the truth of it is that liberation is at hand. Liberation is at hand. We just have to keep on keeping on. Let's take this into a time of meditation. So I invite you now, take a deep breath. That was a lot that was said. Let it percolate in you, but we do this in a time of silence. So take a deep breath, ground both feet on the floor, rest your hands in your lap, palms upward and open in a posture of openness, of receptivity, and just allow your attention to follow your breath. Taking in deep, slow breaths, making your exhales just a little bit longer than your inhales. Noticing the moments of pause between the inhale and the exhale. Allowing our breath to be our anchor into stillness. And if a sound or a thought or a sensation in the body, something arises to pull you out of the stillness, just notice it without resistance, without frustration. Just notice it and return your attention to your breath. Imagine yourself breathing with your whole body. Gently, purposefully. Allow the anchor of breath to pull you into your center of stillness within. In this moment of stillness, acknowledge the truth of who you are, the Christ, the divine, the power of love that binds all together. This is your truth. This is your essence. And allow yourself to be open to the question of what stands in the way of you living from this place in every moment. It is not enough to declare it. We have to ask the hard question of what will help us live it. And whatever arises, allow it to arise without judgment, without shame, but to see it as an invitation into further awakening, into deeper healing. What stands in the way of being living the fullness of my Christ nature? Let us take this question into the silence for a few moments. What stands in the way of me living and expressing the fullness of my Christ nature? And again, allow without judgment, without shame, without anger, allow answers to arise, knowing that they're invitations into our liberation. For a few moments in the silence. So we breathe into that revelation, into any discomfort that might arise, knowing that within us is already all that we need to navigate, to heal, to express the truth of the divinity that we are. We need do nothing more than allow it to come forth, knowing that the more we live from that true Christ being that we are, the more we will experience the spiritual liberation that is our true state of being. And we hold this intention for any loved ones in our life who might be struggling, bring them to mind, hold them in this space. We hold this truth for the nation, for the world, for the places where oppression still exists. We hold the truth for those still journeying towards liberation. Just as love is our true nature, so is liberation. And we claim that for ourselves now. And we claim it for this entire planet. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen. Taking another deep breath, I invite us all to be in that place of gratitude for this center, Unity of Harlem, for all the work and the presence that has been over the years to be a place that others can come and embark on that journey of liberation, spiritual liberation, and be supported by and with each other. And this wouldn't be possible, as always, without your generosity, without your donations, without your kindness. So we invite you to consider if anything that Unity of Harlem has ever done to support you on your journey, consider sharing a gift, a tithe. Head over to bit.ly/Unity in Harlem. Or if you're in the center right now, donate that, give that, and realize that it is through the sharing and through the giving and through the generosity that we demonstrate and are recipients of the never-ending flow of abundance and circulation that exists in the universe. So let's give thanks for that with our gratitude affirmation, and let Bob pull that up on the screen. And remember, we got some ham actions that go along with that. So let's say and all together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. And I'm thanking you in advance. Go Knicks. All right. Let's turn it back over to Annette for some good news. Take it away, Annette.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Ogun. And as I said that I would be returning to tell you about the community news from Unity in Harlem. First, uh, next Saturday, June 20th, there will be a Father's Day brunch here at 318 West 139th Street. And it will start at noon and will go until 3 p.m. So that's a Father's Day brunch next Saturday here at noon, from noon to 3. Also, I just want to say it again, because sometimes people might move away from their listening device and miss it. The Eastern region will be celebrating Juneteenth by Zoom with a prayer vigil, and you will see it on the screen to remind you again. It starts at 11, and we are excited that our Reverend Ogun will be the first person on their roster to start the prayer. So make sure you start coming in at its beginning at 11 a.m. And there will be other ministers, and you will get other ways of praying on that day of Juneteenth, which is Friday, June 19th at 11 a.m. Yes. And this is the shortcut for the Zoom. Juneteenth Prayer Vigil, BIT dot. Oh, after the colon? Okay, after the colon, it's BIT dot LY/Unity East Juneteenth. Let me say it with the letters. BIT dot LY/Unity East Juneteenth. And Juneteenth is spelled JUNETEENTH. Juneteenth with an N. Okay. Thank you, Bob, for making me articulate that. Going to the announcements. You are already there, but I'm going to say them again. The Zoom connection for Unity in Harlem is 698-428-2725. Thank you. And if you're coming in by phone, it's 929-205-6099, and both have the passcode of 777-7777. Okay, and the shortcut is BIT dot LY/Unity Harlem Zoom. And if you keep that, then you can always go to it, and you don't have to repeat it, because we keep that. And always know that what I'm saying with regards to announcements or as this Zoom, it'll be on the screen as well. And if you take a screenshot, you have it. Next, we're happy to know that another study group will start. The date of its start has not been announced yet, because we are now on a break. But it will be the title. And you can see it. Tara, it looks like it should say Brosh, but it's Brock. BRACH, Tara Brock. And the title, you'll see, is Radical Acceptance. Our study group Wednesdays usually comes 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So that space is saved. It's when it will begin again, you will get the announcement. So you might want to get the book now and begin to read. so that when the study group starts, you'll have a frame of reference with what Reverend Ogun will start to talk about. Unity in Harlem has a meditation prayer circle, which also meets on a Wednesday. It is now still in effect, and it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, 1, and then for the people who need the evening, it's at 6 p.m. And it's about 30 minutes. If anyone needs to have a quiet time with Reverend Ogun, the telephone number, and this is a telephone and not a Zoom, it's 978-992-7297. I'm going to switch now to talk about the Celebrating Our Soul conference that's going to come up August 13th through the 16th. This year, summer. Now is the time of regular registration, which has begun and will end June 30th. And then, as most conferences have, there'll be a late registration, which will increase the price, but it's a small window. It starts July 1st and will go through July 15th. July 1st to July 15th. And then the registration will stop. There will be no registration at the site. So please consider coming to the conference. And one of the ideas that Reverend Ogun talked about, and I'll expand it in another way, is that at this conference, all the different New Thought centers and churches will come under one roof. And so, sometimes you'll hear, or oftentimes you will hear a brief passage from someone from Universal Foundation for Better Living. But there is the Centers for Spiritual Living. There is ANTA. There, besides Unity. So at this conference, the different speakers will be coming from different New Thought expressions. And so that's an exciting and an exhilarating and a wonderful place to be. Reverend Ogun talked about people in New Thought don't evangelize. And we show what we know through our actions. You will be able to be in a space where those actions come alive. Those actions are felt and seen by you, and you will express your own. So it's a wonderful time, and it happens at Unity Village in Missouri. And there are hotel spaces available and whatnot. So please consider. And you saw the website, celebratingoursoul.org, or People of African Descent New Thought Group.org is also the website to go to. Next, and so thank you for that. Next Sunday, Reverend Ogun's talk will be titled, It's Father's Day, next Sunday, June 21st. And I think I have covered all that I am to cover. Oh, no, it's not. Those of you in New York who might be interested in going to a Juneteenth celebration at the Interchurch Center on Claremont Avenue, that's in Manhattan, at 120th Street, will be having their Juneteenth celebration on Wednesday, the 15th. No, Wednesday the 17th, sorry. Wednesday the 17th from 5:30 to 7. And there will be music and talk, and that is their Juneteenth celebration, and that's the Interchurch Center's celebration of Juneteenth, and you can find that on the internet. And on Friday, June 19th in New York, there will be another celebration, and this will be on the day of Juneteenth, June 19th, at Van Cortlandt Park at 6 p.m. And what's historic about having it there at the Van Cortlandt Park Mansion Museum is that the owners of Van Cortlandt Park still had slaves in New York City, in the Bronx. But there's a burial ground there. The people who lived at Van Cortlandt Manor, their graveyard is at one spot, but very close is the grave site of the people who were their indentured slaves. Now, I'm saying it like that because ordinarily those two grave sites would be so far away you would not even connect the two. And the big part is that recently those grave sites of those slaves, enslaved people, has just been discovered. They were clearing the land and discovered them. So this Juneteenth is celebrating their lives. And that's going to be very, very emotional, historic, and something that I'm sure if you attend, you will feel. I'm getting goosebumps knowing it. But it's acknowledging that people were there, real people, not myths and all that stuff. Real people, and you want to honor your ancestors. Honor the ancestors who worked here. So that's Van Cortlandt Park, 6 p.m. You take the number 1 train, get off at the last stop, 242nd Street, and once you get out, you walk to the right, and there you'll just see this path into the park. As you follow it, it goes right to the mansion where the celebration will be. No. Van Cortlandt Park is in the Bronx. All right, so just go to the New York City website and you will see it. I don't have an announcement to give to Bob, but thank you for all your patience with my announcements, and now I will turn the program back over to Marie, who will have a song of inspiration, and I wish you a continued good day. Thank you.
Wow, always so many great things in that. You are just amazing, a treasure trove of knowledge and, wow, how to live life more fully in New York City. And speaking of that, we're going to sing a song that says there is more than enough on a universe that you've created, more than enough on a planet of sacred design. Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I go without God's infinite love? It's a new version. Just think about that abundance that's around you. You have access to that joy that we spoke about earlier. There is more than enough in the universe that you created. There is more more than enough on a planet of sacred design. There is more than enough for humanity made in your image. Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I'd go without? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I'd go without? Your infinite love made me, made everything I see, and all that will ever be is your infinite love, your infinite love. Let my soul know the truth, whatever you choose to do, your infinite love will prove more than enough, more than enough. There is more than enough in the universe that you've created. There is more than enough on a planet of sacred design. There is more than enough for humanity made in your image. Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I'd go without? Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I'd go without? Your infinite love made me, made everything I see, and all that will ever be is your infinite love, your infinite love. Let my soul know the truth, whatever you choose to do, your infinite love will prove more than enough, more than enough. 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 Infinite love, infinite joy. More than enough, more, more, more than enough, more than enough. And that is our promise, that is our legacy, that is our more than enough.
It's our truth. It is our truth.
Yes,
We are
that's what
more
it
than
was.
enough. Exactly. Thank you so much for that. I like the rock energy. We don't hear that a lot. I like it.
Well, we created that during the pandemic when we didn't have we really wanted the song, but we didn't know what to put to it, so we figured it out.
You chose wisely. You chose wisely. Before we wrap up with our peace out and prayer for protection, I want to share with you the book study starts July 8th. That's a Wednesday night, Wednesday, July 8th, 7 p.m. It'll run for, I think, 6 weeks again. And this book has been one of the most influential books in my spiritual journey. It's been around for a while, and it has a different book covers because as it's been reissued, reprinted, they updated the book covers, but I'm showing them all to you so that if you are going out to buy the physical book, again, buy them from your neighborhood bookshop, order them from your bookshop. If you have to order online, go to bookshop.org. Amazon does not need any more of your money. Thank you very much. Go to bookshop.org and you can order the physical book or the ebook there. I want to support small bookstores. But the book covers have changed over the years. And I just want to make sure everybody sees them and knows, yes, you got the right book. Radical Acceptance. It's a book that I've read quite a few times. And as I'm rereading it now to prepare for this upcoming book study, still powerful work. Also, I forgot to remind you that I will be there in person next weekend, starting from Juneteenth. I'll be there for Father's Day luncheon on Saturday. I'll be there for church on Sunday for the next few weeks as well. So please, if you are in the New York area, come join us. Come join us for the Father's Day luncheon. Come join us for church in person on Sunday so we can have the opportunity to meet you and connect with you. If you can't make it on Sunday, shoot me a phone call, shoot me an email. Let's set up a time where we can sit down and break bread together in person. That's all I have for you now. So let us close out with our prayer for protection and also with our peace sound. So let's say it together. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's do our peace out. Take it away, Marie.
All right. Peace. Let's all sing it together. All of us. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Be blessed, each and every one of you. Congratulations again to the Knicks. New York, don't lose your entire sense of, composure as you celebrate. I'm sorry I'm gonna miss that parade. That's happening. Wish I was there for it, but you did it, New York. Good for you. That's it for today. Please tune in next week and hope to see you in person when I am there.
And Gay Pride, too.
That's right. It's Pride Month.
And
Pride
Puerto
Month.
Rican Day Pride Parade.
Oh, all that's happening? Oh,
Yeah,
it's a good month,
New
man.
York City, hey.
All right.
And Gemini birthdays.
And Gemini birthdays all over.
Gemini birthdays. There we go.
And hi, Tommy, we love you.